Welcome to r/entitled people, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them, and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. An entitled old man calls the cops on a group of teenagers at a neighborhood pool, claiming they were destroying property, threw a towel into the pool. The second story. An entitled woman wanted to buy a playful console so badly that she ended up in jail. The third story. The boss changed the working conditions and was rewarded with a bunch of resignations. The first story is, entitled old man at neighborhood pool calls the cops on us and wants us to get in his car. Flashback to probably 5-ish years ago. Me and my friends are in about 9th grade. We were at our neighborhood pool that day in the summer. We live in a subdivision. It's me, friend 1, friend 2, friend 3, and friend 3's mom. I didn't really know friend 3, but he was good friends with friend 2, so I had no problem hanging with him. We're chilling at the pool having fun as we normally would have done on a hot summer day. We were running around, playing with each other, jumping in, and having a great time. We noticed that outside the fence of the neighborhood pool is this old man wearing sunglasses just kind of staring at everyone. Take in mind it's like a public pool, so there are some other families and kids there. We didn't really pay mind to the old man at first. Fast forward about 30 minutes. Old man is still outside fence staring inward. We're out of the pool playing around when friend 1 and friend 2 are play fighting with towels. Nothing crazy, just the occasional friendly hit with a towel. They run around a bit, but not enough to where they're breaking any rules or disturbing anyone. At one point, however, friend 1 throws a towel at friend 2 and jumps out of the way. The towel lands in the pool. No one was around us as it's a big pool and we were kind of away from everyone else, so no big deal, right? Wrong. As we go to get the towel out of the pool, we hear the entitled old man, EOM, exclaim, "Boys, boys, come over here right now!" We're a bit confused as to why this random old guy with sunglasses standing outside the fence is yelling at us. EOM then proceeds to yell at us from outside the fence and says we're horseplaying, disturbing other swimmers, and destroying neighborhood pool property. Of course, me and my friends are absolutely shocked at what he's saying. In no way were we hurting or annoying anyone, and all we did was get a towel in the pool. So we tried to tell the EOM that we didn't do anything wrong, and before we can finish, he begins asking us, "What's your addresses? Where do you boys live? Where's your parents?" Also, I was the oldest of the group, and I was 15, so we didn't need a parent with us, but we did have one anyway. We reply to the EOM, "Excuse me, we don't know you, and we're not just going to tell you our personal information like that. Sorry, sir, but we didn't do anything wrong, and we feel really uncomfortable telling that stuff to a stranger." Well, EOM didn't like that answer. At this point, he had caught the attention of several people, including friend 3's mom. The EOM said, "Well, boys, I'm the treasurer of this neighborhood, and I'm going to take you all home for destroying pool property." We respond, "How do we even know that you're actually the neighborhood treasurer?" EOM begins demanding that we get in his car or that he'll call the police. We refuse, and then friend 3's mom comes over and begins swearing at the EOM. She then told him, "I don't give a flying F who the hell you are. You're not going to take these boys in your car, and you're certainly not going to have them to tell you their addresses. I will call the police on you. How do I know you're not just trying to kidnap these young boys, huh? Get your A out of here before I call the police my D self, creepy old B." Take in mind she was a loud southern lady, so she meant business. The EOM was taken back a little bit by friend 3's mom, but still proceeded to call the police, and then the owner of the neighborhood. Friend 3's mom also calls the police and tells them that an old man has been standing outside a neighborhood pool, where little kids swim, and is asking her son and his friends to tell him their addresses and to get in his car. EOM finally comes into the pool using his key card. I then call my mom and tell her about the whole situation. On a side note, my mom is a very large Italian lady from Jersey that will never be scared or intimidated by anyone. She does not mess around when it comes to protecting her kids. She leaves work and drives to the pool. Fast forward about 10 to 15 minutes. The cops show up, as does the neighborhood owner in his fancy big SUV. There is one older male cop and a young female and male cop. The cops firstly ask the old man what's going on, and he tells them that we were roughhousing, disturbing everyone, and destroying pool property. The older male cop asks, "In what way would you say they were destroying pool property?" EOM fibs and tells him that we were throwing stuff into the pool and that it was getting into the drains and filters. The cop then asks, "What items were they throwing into the pool?" EOM, knowing good and well that there was security cameras, said they threw a towel in the pool. The look on the cop's face was priceless. The cop said, "I'm sorry, but you called the police because a teenage boy threw a towel into the pool?" EOM then tried to explain but couldn't really come up with a valid reason. Then it's our turn to talk. My mom just gets there and you know SH is about to go down. The looks on friend 1 and 2's faces were that of someone who witnessed crime. They knew my mom was crazy and that this was about to be good. The cop asks our side of the story, and we explain to him exactly what happened. The old man stared through the outside of the fence for over 30 minutes, and then we accidentally threw a towel in the pool. EOM yelled at us for horseplay and destruction of property. Friend 3's mom and my mom, whom I informed everything to on the phone, began telling the cop about how he proceeded to ask for all of our addresses, and that he was also demanding we get into his car. The EOM started saying something about how us boys needed to be taken home and shown a lesson. My mom lost her SH. She does not like being told how to parent her child, me. And truthfully, my mom was an amazing mom, so she never really had people tell her how. My mom yelled at the EOM, "I don't need some wrinkly old bee telling me how to raise my kid, and I certainly don't need some wrinkly old bee telling my son to get in his car." The cop even laughed. The cop then proceeded to tell EOM that there was no reason he should have called the cops over something like a towel in the pool, and that we didn't break any rules. The cops then proceeded to tell the EOM that he shouldn't have asked 4 young boys their addresses, and demanded us to get in his car. EOM tries coming up with more excuses, but he couldn't think of anything except saying that we were endangering him and others by being there. The police told him that he shouldn't have called them over something so silly, and he was also issued a warning for being super creepy towards us. The neighborhood owner then proceeded to tell us he knew that we did nothing wrong, but still told us to not come back to the pool for the next 2 weeks. Nothing happened to the old man. My mom wrote several letters to the homeowners association and even brought the situation up at several HOA meetings. After about 6 months, the whole neighborhood was on my mom's side, and the creepy old man was removed from the treasurer's position and was banned from going to the pool. I still see the EOM every few months when I pass him while driving. Well, well, well. Look at you, Sherlock Gnomes. On the case of the century. You sure know how to sniff out the culprit of a crime. A teenage boy throwing a towel into the pool. What an outrage. How could these delinquents behave like that? They're a menace to society and they need to be taken down. And who better to bring them to justice than the treasurer of the neighborhood, right? I mean, what's the point of having a treasurer if not to chase teenagers away from the pool? It's not like they're supposed to manage the finances or anything like that. I can see why you decided to call the police. The teenage boy throwing a towel into the pool is a matter of national security, of course. I'm glad the cops took it seriously, and I bet they were very happy to spend their time on such an important issue. The second story is, it's not really Christmas until someone goes to prison. About 18 years ago, I worked at the main video game retailer in the UK. It wasn't a bad job, but like anything where you have to deal with the general public, it came with some crap moments. This one was early December when the Xbox 360 came out. Like most console launches, we were running on a pre-order only system. The only stock we received had been reserved by customers with a small deposit, £20 I think. Because the launch was in December, the Xbox was the must-have Christmas gift, and it made people go a little crazy. I think anyone who's had to deal with pre-orders at retail knows where this is going. Our store opened at 9 a.m. We couldn't do a midnight launch as the store was within a complex that was locked from 10 p.m. to 8:45 a.m. each day. The first thing we see once the complex opens is a woman sprinting up to our door and frantically pulling on the handles. We let her know through the door that we don't open until 9 a.m. At this point, she's fairly reasonable, says okay and waits. Over the next 15 minutes, a small queue forms behind her of people here for their consoles. As you probably expected, she didn't have a pre-order. Her response to finding out she couldn't buy an Xbox was to scream at us, threaten that she was going to Trading Standards, yell about false advertising, and eventually yell about how she was going to our competitor to buy one, since they have some decency. The problem being that the console was a pre-order only basically everywhere, so we knew she wasn't going to have any success over there either. About an hour later, she comes back to the store, and we're all braced for impact, but she just starts browsing, which was a surprise. We didn't realize what she was up to until one of the latecomers come to pick up their console. As soon as they left the counter and headed for the door, entitled woman dashed over to them and started talking to them. We didn't know what she was doing at first, but it turns out she was offering to buy the console off other customers at an elevated price. The woman she spoke to wasn't interested. She was an older woman and had one of those wheelie shopping bags that every older woman in England seems to have. This becomes relevant later. This is where entitled woman really screwed up. Not taking no for an answer, she suddenly pushed the woman, grabbed the bag and ran. She didn't get far because we always had a security guard round on launch days. She got about 20 foot out of the shop before they grabbed her and brought her back. When they called the police, we were all kind of expecting her to be arrested for theft, like all the times we had to ring about shoplifters. But nope, turns out the woman she stole from had done other Christmas shopping that morning. She'd bought jewelry, other small electronics, all sorts. The goods in her bag totaled over 2,000 pounds. And because the entitled woman had pushed her to get the bag off her, it was officially robbery, not theft. Robbery for a relatively high value of goods, too. It may not sound like a big distinction, but legally it's pretty massive. We were told by the security guard later, who heard it from the arresting officer, she was able to get the charge reduced to theft as long as she pled guilty. This got her 1 year in prison and some period of supervision. That's pretty light for robbery, but pretty heavy for forgetting to pre-order. Ha! This story's hilarious. I never knew forgetting to pre-order an Xbox could lead to prison time. The entitled woman should have just waited patiently like everybody else instead of causing a scene. It's amazing how people can get so worked up over a video game console. But hey, at least she learned her lesson the hard way. Maybe next time she'll remember to pre-order or just get a gift card instead. Thanks for sharing this entertaining tale. And the last story is my little victory. Back when I was a student, I had this hella boring job as a phone surveyor. My days were spent asking people about their political views, which newspapers they read, likes, dislikes, SHing habits, jobs, income, and more. The pay was below minimum wage. Workload could get insane at times, and during my first month, some guy handed me a paper about unionization. Never saw him again. Luckily, what the job lacked in pay and decency, it made up for with sheer flexibility. Shifts were between 15 to 20-30, and we were given one 20-minute break. To top it off, we could read, draw, write, or do other things during the waiting periods. I liked it. It was the perfect job for a student. But then everything changed. One day, without any warning, one of the supervisors walked in and handed every guy and gal a piece of paper. No speech, no meeting, no possibility for us to ask questions collectively. Just a paper announcing that our breaks were cut in half, and that we can no longer do any studying, writing, drawing, and whatnot on our desks during the waiting periods. We were to just sit there and stare at the screen. Now, did we get a raise? No. Was the workload reduced? Nada. I was genuinely peeved when I got that paper. They got rid of the few perks that made the job worth having. They did this without consulting us or compensating us in any form. Minutes later, I went to the supervisor and handed my resignation. He told me I still had to show up for a few more shifts per my work contract. I decided F it and never showed up. I mean, fellas, you changed my working conditions. The ones I agreed to when I signed up, without any warning. Why should I bother keeping my part of the bargain? Next week, multiple unanswered phone calls and a message reminding me of the remaining shifts. Oops, turns out I wasn't alone. Several others had quit as well, with at least 2 pulling off the same stunt as me and not showing up. Have fun meeting your deadlines, dip SHs. Notes: Norway doesn't have a minimum wage. Instead, the wages of many industries are determined through collective bargaining. It's a nice system as it constantly gets adjusted for inflation and other costs, but unfortunately it doesn't cover everything. Wow, OP, look who's the hero of the working class now. Your little victory definitely put those dip SHs in their place. Maybe they'll think twice before messing with the flexibility and perks of their employees. But let's just hope they don't come after you with a vengeance. Stay safe, my friend. Subscribe, hit the like button, and have a nice day.